Did you know that Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor who approved Jesus' crucifixion, ended his life in a shrouded and tragic manner? Imagine being at the center of one of history's most contentious decisions and facing the fallout in silence. Pilate, who governed Judea during Jesus' time, is a figure documented in various historical and religious texts, but what became of him after that pivotal day? The story of Pilate weaves together biblical, historical, and traditional narratives. He appears in all four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, where his indecision and eventual choice to condemn Jesus are recounted. The accounts describe his interactions with Jesus and the intense pressure from the Jewish leaders. Additional historical context is provided by sources like the Jewish historian Flavius Josephus and the Roman philosopher Philo of Alexandria. By examining these diverse sources, we gain a fuller picture of Pilate's complex role and his involvement in the crucifixion. To truly grasp Pilate's story, we need to delve into both the sacred texts and the intricate political and social landscape of his time. Keep watching to uncover the compelling and unsettling tale of the Roman governor who played a pivotal role in Jesus' fate. Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea, found himself in a difficult position. The Jewish leaders demanded Jesus' crucifixion, accusing him of blasphemy. Pilate, however, saw no fault in Jesus. John 18:38. He made several attempts to free Jesus, even proposing the traditional release of a prisoner during Passover. Yet the crowd chose Barabbas over Jesus, Matthew 27:15-26. Despite his personal reservations, Pilate succumbed to the crowd's demands, symbolically washing his hands to distance himself from the decision and handing Jesus over for crucifixion, Matthew 27:24. This act of washing his hands would become a symbol of both cowardice and injustice throughout history. The biblical account reveals that Pilate made several attempts to appease the crowd, including ordering Jesus to be flogged in hopes that this lesser punishment might satisfy the Jewish leaders, Luke 23:16. This act not only sealed Jesus' fate, but also marked the beginning of Pilate's downfall, a topic that would be debated and scrutinized for centuries to come. Pilate was well aware of the region's political volatility. Jerusalem was alive with Passover festivities, and the presence of Jesus, viewed as a prophet by many, only intensified the situation. The religious leaders accused Jesus of inciting rebellion against Rome, Luke 23:2, a serious charge that could justify a harsh penalty under Roman law. Pilate found himself in a tough spot. Releasing Jesus might provoke a Jewish uprising, while condemning him meant authorizing the death of a man he believed to be innocent. To prevent unrest, Pilate ultimately yielded to the demands of the crowd, unaware that this choice would torment him for the rest of his life. Although the Bible doesn't delve into Pilate's personal thoughts, his actions reflect a man under immense pressure, trying to balance justice with public order. Historical accounts suggest that Pilate's decision weighed heavily on him. Governing a volatile province like Judea required careful management of power, and Rome's adversaries were quick to exploit any sign of weakness. Pilate's predicament was extraordinarily complex, with each decision carrying significant political and social ramifications. At the same time, Pilate's wife, Claudia Procula, experienced a troubling dream. She sent a message to Pilate urging him to have nothing to do with that righteous man, Matthew 27:19. This dream, unique to the Gospel of Matthew, remains mysterious in its origins and meaning. Some see it as a divine intervention aimed at preventing Jesus' crucifixion. Claudia Procula, though only briefly mentioned in the Bible, highlights Pilate's moral struggle. Her dream, which she believed was a divine warning, added to Pilate's internal conflict. Ignoring her warning would become a mistake that would haunt him deeply. Christian tradition has even canonized Claudia Procula in some denominations, underlining the significance of her role in the Passion narrative. Her dream adds a supernatural layer to the story, suggesting that higher forces were influencing the trial. Jesus was crucified on Pilate's orders, with the inscription on the cross reading, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews," John 19:19. Written in Hebrew, Latin, and Greek, This sign was Pilate's way of underscoring the accusation that Jesus claimed kingship, a charge seen as treason against Caesar. As Jesus endured his suffering, Pilate grappled with doubts and guilt. The crucifixion, a pivotal event in the Gospels, is depicted in great detail, including the reactions of those present and the accompanying supernatural events, such as the darkness at noon and the tearing of the temple veil, Matthew 27:45, 51. These phenomena deepened Pilate's inner turmoil, suggesting to him that Jesus might have been divinely innocent. The Bible portrays this moment as not merely a human event, but a cosmic clash between good and evil. Historically, crucifixion was reserved for the most heinous criminals and was meant to be a public spectacle of suffering and humiliation. Pilate's choice to carry out this form of execution, despite his misgivings, highlights the immense pressure and the complex political and social pressures he faced. Afterward, Pilate became consumed by the decision he had made. The manipulation by the crowd and religious leaders gnawed at him, and he was haunted by Jesus' words, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." Luke 23:34. His guilt grew day by day, becoming increasingly unbearable. Though the Bible doesn't detail Pilate's feelings afterward, it's reasonable to infer that the psychological impact of his actions was profound, given the gravity of the situation. Christian tradition suggests that Pilate never escaped the weight of his role in Jesus' death, a burden that deeply affected the rest of his life. Apocryphal texts and extra-canonical sources such as Ethiopian Orthodox tradition offer further insights into Pilate's suffering, depicting him as a man ravaged by guilt. His symbolic act of washing his hands did little to ease his moral burden, and he would have constantly reflected on the events of that fateful day. According to Ethiopian Orthodox belief, Pilate eventually converted to Christianity, seeking redemption for his actions. While this is speculative and not universally accepted, it is noted that the guards at Jesus' tomb reported his resurrection, Matthew 28:4-5, causing a commotion among the Jewish leaders and Pilate. In an attempt to suppress the truth, Pilate bribed the guards to spread falsehoods about the resurrection, Matthew 28:12-15, but the news spread rapidly, adding to Pilate's distress. The resurrection is the cornerstone of the Christian faith, firmly supported by the Gospels and the epistles of the New Testament, 1 Corinthians 15:3-8. For Pilate, the resurrection posed a severe legitimacy crisis. If Jesus truly rose from the dead, it would not only confirm Jesus' claims of divinity, but also mean that Pilate had unjustly condemned an innocent man. Pilate's efforts to cover up the resurrection reveal his struggle to maintain control and sanity in the face of events that challenged both logic and Roman authority. The rapid spread of Christianity, including the conversion of many Jews and Gentiles, further magnified the impact of the resurrection and the consequences of Pilate's decision. His attempts to suppress the resurrection highlight the ongoing tension between Roman political power and the emerging spiritual influence of Christianity. Emperor Tiberius received mixed reports about the situation in Judea. Pilate was already in a precarious position due to his harsh rule and insensitivity to Jewish customs. Historical accounts by Flavius Josephus and Philo of Alexandria describe Pilate as a ruthless governor whose actions frequently angered the Jewish population. One of his most infamous actions was using temple funds to build an aqueduct, which sparked significant unrest among the Jews. His troubles worsened when he was summoned back to Rome to answer for his conduct. Pilate was ultimately removed from office following an incident where he ordered the killing of Samaritans on Mount Gerizim. This, along with his overall administration, led to his dismissal by Lucius Vitellius, governor of Syria. Pilate faced a harsh investigation in Rome, and his political career came to an end. The fallout from his actions in Judea had serious consequences for both him and the province he governed. The political unrest in Judea during Pilate's tenure and his subsequent downfall illustrate the complexities of Roman provincial administration, where the challenge of enforcing Roman authority often clashed with local traditions and desires for autonomy. In Rome, Pilate underwent a thorough investigation. Tiberius was enraged by the turmoil Pilate had caused in Judea. Pilate's political rivals took advantage of the situation, leading to his removal from office and exile. His wife Claudia continued to suffer from disturbing dreams, while Pilate, overwhelmed by guilt, became increasingly reclusive. Tradition suggests that Pilate did not have a formal trial, but was forced to retire from public life. Some apocryphal texts, like the Acts of Pilate, offer alternative accounts of his life after the crucifixion, often focusing on his remorse and attempts at penance. Pilate's story remains a fascinating and complex intersection of historical, religious, and psychological elements. Facing criticism for his unpopularity due to brutal repression and a disregard for Jewish customs, Pilate was portrayed by Flavius Josephus and Philo of Alexandria as a ruthless governor whose actions frequently angered the Jewish community. One of his most notorious decisions was using temple funds to build an aqueduct, which led to significant unrest among the Jews. His troubles escalated when he was summoned back to Rome to explain his actions. Pilate was ultimately removed from office after an incident where he ordered the killing of Samaritans on Mount Gerizim. This, combined with his overall administration, led to his recall by Lucius Vitellius, the governor of Syria. Pilate underwent a thorough investigation in Rome, and his political career ended. The repercussions of his actions in Judea had significant consequences for both him and the province he governed. The turbulence during Pilate's rule and his subsequent downfall reflect the complexities of Roman provincial administration, where enforcing Roman authority often clashed with local traditions and desires for autonomy. In Rome, Pilate faced a rigorous investigation. Tiberius was enraged by the unrest Pilate had caused in Judea, and Pilate's political adversaries took the opportunity to attack him. He was stripped of his office and exiled. His wife, Claudia, continued to suffer from troubling dreams, while Pilate, consumed by guilt, became reclusive. Tradition suggests that Pilate did not have a formal trial, but was forced to retire from public life. Some apocryphal texts, like the Acts of Pilate, offer alternative narratives of his life after the crucifixion, often emphasizing his remorse and attempts at penance. Pilate's death remains shrouded in mystery, with some historical accounts suggesting he committed suicide due to the weight of his actions and his exile. Church historian Eusebius of Caesarea mentions that Pilate took his own life during Caligula's reign. Other sources, such as Tacitus, provide no specific details about his death. Christian tradition also presents various endings for Pilate's life, including suggestions that he converted to Christianity before his death. The legend, popularized in medieval and Renaissance literature like the Golden Legend, depicts Pilate as having committed suicide in exile in Gaul with his body thrown into a river. Regardless of the exact details, his death is viewed as a tragic outcome for a man who played a crucial role in Jesus' crucifixion. The blend of historical fact, tradition, and speculation surrounding his death reflects the complexity of his legacy. Pilate's story has been used over the centuries to explore themes of guilt, redemption, and justice. His potential suicide is seen as a final expression of despair and remorse, while the accounts of his conversion suggest an attempt to seek absolution. These diverse narratives highlight the difficulty of separating fact from fiction regarding historical figures involved in significant religious and moral events. In Christian history, Pilate is often depicted as a weak and easily manipulated figure who failed to uphold justice despite recognizing Jesus' innocence. His life and death serve as a reminder of the lasting impact of our decisions and the consequences of yielding to external pressures. The Gospels portray Pilate as a governor who, despite understanding Jesus' innocence, ultimately gave in to the demands of the crowd. Over the centuries, Christian tradition has vilified him, though some apocryphal texts present a more sympathetic view. Pilate's indecision and final choice have been the subject of extensive theological and historical analysis, underscoring the moral complexity of his role in the crucifixion. His story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of succumbing to external pressures at the expense of justice and truth. Pilate is often compared to other historical figures facing similar moral dilemmas, and his story is used to illustrate the importance of courage and integrity. During Holy Week, he is remembered as an example of how cowardice and injustice can lead to devastating outcomes. Pilate's tragic story offers deep theological insights, highlighting human fallibility. His failure to act justly when confronted with the truth about Jesus challenges us to consider our own decisions and the courage to follow the truth. Theologians have long debated Pilate's role in the Passion of Christ, using his figure to illustrate the struggle between justice and convenience. His attempt to wash his hands of guilt is seen as a symbol of a guilty conscience trying to avoid responsibility. Pilate's story is also used in sermons to emphasize the need for moral courage and integrity, serving as a reminder of the importance of acting justly even in the face of personal consequences. Christian theology views Pilate's failure to recognize and act on the truth about Jesus as a warning against moral complacency. His story invites self-reflection, encouraging us to live according to principles of justice and truth. Pilate has been a prominent figure in art and literature. His inner conflict and role in Jesus' crucifixion have been explored by artists and writers throughout history. From medieval sacred art to modern literature, Pilate is portrayed in various ways, reflecting changing perceptions over time. In works like José Saramago's The Gospel According to Jesus Christ and Mikhail Bulgakov's The Master and Margarita, Pilate is depicted as a complex character torn between duty and morality. In art, he is often shown in the scene of Jesus' condemnation, his expression ranging from doubt to resignation. These cultural representations underscore Pilate's enduring impact on collective imagination and highlight his historical and theological significance. In Christian tradition, Pilate is often remembered during Holy Week. His figure is invoked in sermons and theatrical representations of the Passion of Christ as an example of how cowardice and injustice can lead to disastrous outcomes. Pilate is mentioned in the Nicene Constantinopolitan Creed, affirming that Jesus suffered under his governance. This inclusion underscores Pilate's role in Christian salvation history. His story is used pedagogically to illustrate the dangers of injustice and the importance of seeking truth. During Easter celebrations, Pilate's memory serves as a reminder of the consequences of human actions and the need to pursue justice. His figure is associated with unjust judgment and serves as a teaching tool about righteousness. In some liturgies, Pilate is mentioned in prayers as an example of human frailty and the need for divine grace to overcome moral challenges. Pilate's life and death provide valuable lessons about responsibility and integrity. He had the chance to alter history, but chose the easier path, demonstrating the consequences of yielding to pressure. His story is often used to discuss ethics and leadership, highlighting the importance of moral firmness. Pilate's failures warn against complacency and the pursuit of the path of least resistance at the cost of what is morally right. His story challenges us to reflect on our actions and the responsibility to act justly, even under significant pressure. Pilate's narrative remains a case study in ethics and leadership, emphasizing the need for integrity in positions of power. His story reminds us of the importance of staying true to justice and courage, regardless of the difficulties involved. Today, Pilate's story still resonates deeply with us. In times of uncertainty and conflict, the need for just and courageous decision-making is more relevant than ever. Pilate's tragedy serves as a powerful reminder that truth must prevail, even when faced with immense pressure and adversity. His story is frequently referenced in discussions about leadership and ethics, emphasizing the difficulty of maintaining integrity amid political and social pressures. Pilate's experience warns us of the dangers of complicity with injustice during crises. His ongoing relevance underscores the timeless nature of his lessons, which transcend historical and cultural boundaries. Moreover, his story is often brought up in debates about justice and human rights, illustrating how inaction can lead to devastating consequences. Pilate remains a symbol of the importance of moral courage and standing firm for the truth. His story encourages us to pursue justice and righteousness in our own lives, reflecting on the universal and enduring nature of the moral dilemmas he faced. Pilate's character has also been explored extensively in popular culture through movies, plays, and books. He is depicted in various ways, ranging from a cold villain to a man trapped by circumstances. These portrayals continue to captivate audiences and highlight the complexities of his role in history. Films like The Passion of the Christ and Jesus of Nazareth offer nuanced depictions of Pilate, shedding light on his internal struggles. In literature, he appears as a central figure in works that delve into themes of power, justice, and remorse. Popular culture keeps Pilate's story alive, allowing for fresh interpretations and a deeper understanding of his historical significance. His character is also featured in numerous Easter theatrical productions worldwide, where his role is reimagined in various ways. These diverse portrayals reflect evolving values and social perceptions, demonstrating how each generation reinterprets his legacy in light of new contexts. Pilate remains a key figure in discussions about power, morality, and the consequences of human actions, illustrating his lasting impact on modern culture. In Christian tradition, Pilate's memory endures in religious practices and collective consciousness. He is remembered not only for his actions but also for his failure to stand up for truth and justice. His inclusion in the Creed and the Passion narratives ensures that his role remains central in Christian memory. Pilate's story is utilized in religious and educational contexts to teach about morality and responsibility. His figure symbolizes the challenges faced by those in power and the necessity of making just decisions. In many traditions, Pilate represents how fear and cowardice can lead to morally wrong choices. Additionally, his story reflects on the nature of judgment and responsibility, emphasizing the complexity of his decisions. The discussions surrounding his actions and the condemnation of Jesus are explored both historically and as ethical case studies. Pilate's legacy serves as a cautionary tale about the need for integrity and courage in all circumstances, reminding us of the long-term consequences of our actions. His story profoundly impacts Christian faith, encouraging reflection on our societal roles and responsibilities. Pilate's life and death challenge us to pursue justice and truth, offering lessons about redemption and forgiveness. Pontius Pilate, the man who authorized Jesus' crucifixion, remains a figure of complexity and tragedy. His story is intertwined with themes of power, guilt, and remorse. Reflecting on his life and death reminds us of the importance of making just decisions and facing the truth, no matter how challenging it may be. Pilate's story is an eternal reminder that our actions have significant consequences and that seeking justice and truth should be our highest priorities. His life mirrors our own moral and ethical dilemmas, encouraging us to act with integrity and courage in every situation. Pilate's story prompts us to reflect on our responsibilities and the impact of our decisions, both now and in the future. It teaches us about the power of redemption and the necessity of pursuing truth, even when it is difficult or unpopular. Pilate continues to resonate in our collective conscience, reminding us that justice and truth must always be our guiding principles. As we conclude this video, I hope you found it insightful. If you're seeking inspiration, knowledge, and spiritual connection, don't miss the chance to engage with our content. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like, and comment to help us build our community. If you want to support our mission of sharing meaningful religious stories, consider becoming a channel member. Your support helps us continue this important work and strengthens our spiritual journey together. We're counting on you. Find the link in the description to join us as a member today. Keep exploring our videos about Bible history and check out the recommendations on the screen. God bless you, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.